My final presentation is regarding the Athabascan traditions in the Upper Tanana. The ways of tradition and culture in the Alaskan Native communities truly do change with time. Expectations, abilities, and willingness to keep the traditions alive truly rely on the youth of today. The importance of passing traditions from generations is a reluctant and vital part of keeping cultural ways of living preserved for that specific community. Many people within Native Alaskan communities lose sight of these traditions and stray from the beautiful techniques and talents used by their people that help them survive. I'll be discussing the Upper Tanana. Now, I'm mostly discussing a story about Kenny Thomas Sr., who is a native Athabascan elder from Tanacross, Alaska. With my background of my dad being a missionary pastor in Tanacross Village and actually Tetlin and Northway here, we were actually based in Delta Junction, and every Saturday and Sunday we would commute to Tanacross and Tok, and there's also Healy Lake, which is farther off and it's not included in this map. So, and also Tetlin, sorry. So commuting from Delta Junction was an interesting experience because Tanacross was just such an open community and such an amazing village. So my discussion here will be mainly talking about Mansfield Village here and Tanacross. So now separating alongside of the road here is the Tanana River, which is why this is located in the Upper Tanana. So Kenny Thomas Sr. is actually an Athabascan elder from Tanacross who was willing to open up not only to the outsider to publish his autobiography, Crow is My Boss, but this was a historical placing in Alaska, but he opened the door for so many other people to experience this true generosity and his cultural traditions, which is just simply amazing because so many people or so many elders in Native communities want to keep that tradition within their own people, but Kenny Thomas was just such an amazing and remarkable man. He shared this with everybody he could so he could continue his traditions. So people all over the state of Alaska come to see us every summer at Culture Camp. That was a quote from Kenny Thomas himself in his book. Culture Camp is actually located in Mansfield Village. Now, Tanacross is across the river. The only way you can get there is by plane. They do have a small, not an airport, but a runway, and you can get there by boat. The only way I've been there to Mansfield, because I was there for Culture Camp, and I've also been there for multiple burials that my father performed. But you cross the river here, and it takes a while to get there. It's about a good 50 miles, 40 to 50 miles by boat, simply just to get to Mansfield from Tanacross. So this was a statement, that was a statement made by Kenny Thomas, and in his book, he's just expressing how willing and open he is to have whoever and anyone experience their culture. I find that fascinating and just so amazing. So, as a kind-hearted individual who was no pushover by any means, Kenny Thomas actually received the Purple Heart for his services in the U.S. Army, raised a beautifully strong family, and was married to an adored wife, Ellen, for over 60 years. Kenny was born in 1922 and was able to experience the relocation of the village of Tanacross. Mansfield is the first original Tanacross, and they had to relocate due to flooding and erosion, and they relocated across the river, which was less rural and more accessible to Tok here, which is only about 12 miles away. So elders whom wish to be buried in their original home of Mansfield are actually boated across the river about 40 miles, and um, they're laid to rest with their ancestors. I find that fascinating because you do have the choice to be buried where you would like to be buried. Many people, I'll even get into that later, but there is a full occupied burial grounds in the village of Tanacross as well as Mansfield. Mansfield is a little more intense. I'm going to be honest, when I went there, I actually we were on our way to a burial site and I happened to slip and fall into a sunken grave. And Kenny, actually, I think I was about 3 or 4, no, maybe a little older, but I do remember that Kenny actually grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and dragged me out of the burial and called me stupid girl. And it was just, I mean, Kenny's a very passionate, amazing person. And just that little experience was like, whoa, wow, this is such a big deal to them. And this burial site, like, why couldn't they relocate that? And that's just, it's against their traditions. And it's so fascinating to me. Going into traditions, there's 12 cultures in the Alaskan Native communities, so these expand over the wide lands of our beautiful state. The importance of culture and traditions are kept alive, and this is something that's shared throughout a variety of communities. So the Athabascans specifically are respected for their openness to share their experiences and love of the land. Here I found this really awesome picture. I actually happen to know everybody in the picture, but this is from 2001. This is at a potlatch for a funeral. Now this is Kenny here, and this is actually, some of you may know him, Jerry Isaac. He is the Tanana Chief Conference president. So he actually originates from Tanacross. I grew up with Jerry's children, Angie and Golly and Damien when he was alive. So um, more traditional aspects are beadwork. That's a very huge one. And now here, this is kind of a weak picture. I found this actually in my pictures. Here's Jerry Isaac again, photoed here. But I took this picture and actually tradition wise, I was kind of going for the drum and the banners on the walls and the handkerchiefs. Now the handkerchiefs are to represent the tears shed for the loss of an individual. So this potlatch specifically was for a funeral. And you can see that I just noticed this, but you can see the precipitation there on the windows, just showing how involved this is. This is a pretty big community hall. It's packed full of villagers and people in their community trying to get together and celebrate the life of a lost individual. And actually, I believe the person who passed that year was Moses. So they were saying he was 112 years old. My father looked at the documentation. He was 97, but still old, so older individual passing. So you don't really see that in modern ages, the how extreme and how um, far along these people come and how long they live. It just blows my mind. So talking about culture, the beauty to me is how generous and loving these individuals who they showed me this raw appreciation of life. The way of living for Kenny and Ellen was simple yet just astonishing to me. So this is actually a beautiful 1996 picture of the Thomas family in Tanacross, and actually, I found this in the Crow is My Boss book, but I have this photo at my home, and I'm pretty positive my father actually took this picture, but they gave the photo credit to somebody else, which was fine. Um, this is a beautiful picture of Kenny and Ellen here, and then their huge family. Here's Debbie, and I love this. It's just such a unique picture. And actually, these are my friends here. This is my age. Here's Sarah, and it's so great to see this, and it's just a unique experience to have lived this with them, and I'm just so blessed to have been a part of their culture and their traditions. So they really do focus on tradition. They focus on family. They're focused on passing down their knowledge to the youth and they dedicate their lives to do so. And I was a part of Vacation Bible School in Tanacross and Tetlin and Northway, and I just feel like it's so unique on how these people really connect with their culture. This is a terrible picture. I'm so sorry. Well, the choice of resting with your ancestors is left to you. Kenny actually chose a different twist when he lost his beloved wife, Ellen, in 2011. So instead of relocating her body to Mansfield, where she originally came from, the community or Kenny actually did something unique. He decided to have a brand new burial ground formed in honor of his wife. So Ellen's body was the first to be laid to rest in this brand new burial grounds, and it's just so it was a touching and unique experience. She passed away in March of 2011, and it was just it was devastating for that community, and so many people were mourning. And actually, at her funeral, I wanted to talk about well, Ellen was the first to lay to rest at that burial grounds. I do remember that her actual funeral itself was too big to be held in the local church there, St. Timothy's. So they held Ellen's funeral at the Toke High School gymnasium. And I obviously was there, and I can't even express on how beautiful and amazing she looked. She was, I believe, 80 years old, 86 years old. She was just stunning. And I remember telling Kenny how beautiful she looked, and that I was so thankful for all of the beautiful things I learned from Grandma Ellen, and how thankful I was for both of them to graciously open their home to me. Why? Why me? And I'll never forget what he told me. So Kenny told me, he said, you will meet people who impact you in so many different ways throughout your life. You will only become the person you are meant to be if you use those tools to better yourself as a person. Even though I lost Grandma, I'm so thankful every day for her, and I will see her again in another life. And those words, it's so touching to me, because it just shows the love and the purity of this culture and just the Athabascan community as a whole. Another terrible picture. I'm sorry I don't have my actual good pictures here. They're all with my parents, but I found this one online, and it just doesn't do it justice. Kenny is an amazing person. I have another one coming up that's simply beautiful. But in 2013, Kenny Thomas was laid to rest next to his beloved Ellen at the age of 91. So, though he consistently told us that he was a young sprite at merely 70, which was so incredibly not true, he told us at his bedside that he was fully prepared to meet the Lord and to join Ellen in heaven. It was such a beautiful experience for me to be part of something so magical, and to see the life of some two people that were so in love and just happy with what they had. And I mean, in comparison to what people have in the urban world, it's just they had nothing, like they lived off the land. They had each other, and that was enough, and that's just so beautiful to me. Okay, this is another terrible picture. So at my 2015 UAF graduation ceremony, Kenny Thomas's son actually came up to me while I was wearing my cap and gown receiving my diploma, and he gave me huge hugs and congratulations, little Annie, and it was so wonderful. But he handed me a box, and I had no idea what to expect. So I was excited and eager, and obviously just graduated. So I ripped into my box, and wrapped in a beautifully handmade blanket was this glass engraved Bible verse. That was a verse from Kenny specifically. I remember him talking to me about. So I found it interesting right away. My first reaction was, where did he get this information from? I kept digging, and there was a handmade moose bone traditional Athabascan choker necklace, and this pair of beautifully handmade beaded moccasins. So as tears filled my eyes, I opened the card, and there was this specific note from Kenny and Ellen, who, I mean, Kenny had died 2 years prior and Ellen 5 years prior. So the fact that they had gone out of their way they knew I was going to be graduating from UAF, and they gave me this amazing honor. And of course, they would have been there by my side when I graduated if they had, been alive still. But um, I examined the slippers, and I noticed they were forget-me-not beadwork, which was my favorite flower as a child. And I remember telling Ellen that. And I was kind of confused, like, where did these slippers come from? They're so beautiful. I flipped them on their back side, and there was a personal message and her signature on the back. Um, these people went out of their way for no reason. I'm just a white girl from, like, Alaska, I guess, but what am I to them? I was so honored to have experienced such an amazing, amazing lifestyle and culture with the traditions from the Athabascan community. In closing here, this is a picture of Grandma Ellen, Kenny Thomas Sr., and me actually in 2010. It was exactly 1 year before Ellen's passing, and Ellen and I share a birthday in that year. Easter was on our birthday, and so we were celebrating our birthday together, and that was an exciting time. Um, so in closing, that is my presentation. I hope you all have a wonderful semester.